Hi everybody, welcome to Painting for Pleasure. I'm your host, Tony Visco, and we're going to do a marsh scene today. Saltwater marsh, Cape Cod marsh, a little bit of water, a lot of grass in the marsh, some of the Cape Cod sort of structure in the background with some homes in the sky. And this should be a fun and maybe a bit challenging piece. So marsh grass and weeds are all going to be painted pretty much the same way. Here's the rough. Okay, I'm actually painting on rough surface today. It's an Marsh's paper. It's 90 pound. 90 pound Marsh's rough. It's neutral, pH neutral. It is 100% rag. Basically, this is the idea here: water, marsh grass, water. It's all still water. Not rough water, still water. So we're just going to put this aside up here, let's say somewhere, and we'll get started. All right, so let's see if we can not have this fall down. Here, let me just put it up in that area there, okay? Okay, so that being said, it's going to be a bright day based on what the clouds are. You saw those billowy clouds in the sky. So we're going to do, let's just move this over a bit like that, and we'll start to paint. And typically the way we're going to do this is we're going to paint the way we've always done. We're going to end up starting with the sky. So we'll get a brush that's got a decent sized brush here. I'm going to start off with my 2-inch brush. This is a faux sable. These are Dynasty brushes. Dynasty Water Lily series. Water Lily series is Dynasty's watercolor brushes, specifically for watercolor. I mean, they make a lot of brushes, and we've used a lot of brushes in the past that are both watercolor, acrylic, and so forth and so on. But these are specifically designed and made for watercolor. So I'm just coming down here, and we're going to paint the sky, wet the sky up, and let me just, because this is 90 pound, I'm going to end up having to see if I can tape this in the bottom as well, so that it won't buckle as much, because 90 pound tends to buckle up a little bit. I keep forgetting to do this, but let's just get this taped down here as well as pull this down. Probably what I should do is wet all of this stuff first to get it prepared before I even start this, but I don't, so we're going to just go on. Right down to the horizon line. Now, the only thing I'm going to tell you about this is that I'll probably end up cutting some of this off the top, because the composition is inadvertently, what I've done is I've just placed all of this as sky. So I've made my horizon line about equal in the center, which I don't like to do usually. Usually I like to do it so that it's a little bit higher, a little bit lower. But let's see what happens. Let's get some sky in here right now. So let's make the sky. We'll start off with a little bit of cobalt blue. Actually, what I'm going to start off with is here. Let's do this. Let me show you what I'm doing. I'm going to come over here with my cobalt blue. All right, and what we're going to do is we're going to put the cobalt blue in, nice bright cobalt blue, and then some cerulean blue. And then we'll go from a warm color to a cool color. I'll put some yellow, some lighter color in there too. So here's my sky, my cobalt blue sky right there, and my cerulean blue is going to be down here a little bit more. I'm going to leave a little bit of space for some clouds in here. So if you just saw what I did, what did I do? I just swiped it in. Forgive the hand here, but I swiped it in, and I'm going to let it paint itself. Now the thing you see happening here is that my water that I put in here is a little bit rusty. That's okay, orange, because this is all going to be, it's all going to be bright marsh anyway, so that's not going to be a problem. So with the sky being just brushed in like that, if you leave the white of the paper, what will end up happening is that this will tend to get a bit more like soft clouds in the background. If we want to make a cloud that is very strong, that is really a billowy cloud, we can do that by removing some of the pigment over here. But in order to show you that, what I'm going to do is put in pigment that's a little darker. All right, so I'm going to come over here and add a little bit of, just a touch of my my alizarin crimson. This is going to make it a little bit purpley, but we'll do it anyway. All right, so here's this. We're going to make this a little bit darker, more pigment than water. So we're just going to do something like this. All right, so we'll make that a little bit darker and more purpley up top, just to show you that in order to make a cloud, we can come in here. We've got some soft clouds over here, but if I want to do a billowy cloud, I just come in here and start to lift up a little bit, right? So you can come over here and get a feel for sort of a billowy cloud that's going to be up there in the sky. Now, taking a little bit more water, and what I'm doing here is I'm lifting. You can see I can get back to the white of the paper. So I can come over here and actually lift out. I'm adding a little bit of water to my, what I did is I took my paper towel here, which is a Viva paper towel or tissue, it doesn't make any difference. And now when I'm doing this softly. I don't want to damage the paper. I don't want to force my hand down and do it roughly. I'm just doing this thing so that it's nice and soft. And maybe I'll add a little bit more of that over in this area here. So we're going to end up with sort of a darker area around here, in which I can then softly come in here with a little bit of water and add some clouds. And those clouds are going to be more the billowy type. Right, this stuff down here is just going to be wispy clouds. Right, but you can see what ends up happening when I do something like that. So you can sort of pull it out. And with a little bit more I can make this cloud, the underside of that cloud, a little bit more interesting as well if I want. And I can do that simply by coming in with a smaller brush. And let's just get this brush for now. Right? We're going to end up adding a little bit of burnt sienna to this blue that I have down here. We're just going to make it grayer. So if I come in here underneath where the sky is and the cloud is, and I add a little bit of gray to it. Gray by mixing here's what I did. I ended up mixing my cobalt blue with a little bit of burnt sienna. Got that nice gray. All right, let's go back and get some tissue. What I'm doing is I'm taking a little bit of water now, just clear water, softening this up a bit, so that now this is done very lightly. Normally I would say you don't want to go back into a cloud or a sky, because once done, it usually is, usually you're very successful if you just allow everything to paint itself. But in my case, what I'm doing right now is to try to show you that it can be done, but this brush is sort of a dry brush. It's got a bit of water on it here. I just added a little bit of water and they took all the water out. So all I'm doing is coming in here and softening or feathering so that they blend together. Now what's going to end up happening here, it could happen here, and I think it might, is that I will get, because I put the water into an area that is damp, not wet, that what's going to end up happening is that I could create blossoms. But in this case, even if I do create a blossom, I think I should be okay, because it's still cloud. So you can see basically what I'm doing is I'm creating an interesting sky pattern. I've got some light areas over here. That was our initial wash that we put down. Cerulean blue, light areas of cobalt blue over here. Light areas of cerulean blue down here. Okay, and the darker areas that I mixed with my cobalt blue and a little bit of alizarin crimson. So I got a little bit of a purplish area going on up here. You can see that. And then what I did is I mixed a little bit of my cobalt blue with my burnt sienna to get a little bit of a grayer look over here. So I've got a transition that's going on. And let's hope that that works out. I got some heavy spots. The camera's picking up some heavy spots. Could probably soften that out a little bit more. I may at some point, but I think right now I'm going to leave it alone. What I also have is a nice highlight right here. You take a look at that highlight. All right, this is sort of a dull white. Got a little bit of gray in here, but I got a nice little highlight here and here. That should work out pretty good. And what it does is because this is almost dead center, it breaks up the equation here of equal spacing, because I've got this thing moving in this direction. So what I've got now is a background, and that background over here is all trees, landscaping, houses, buildings, those kinds of things. And I'm going to put those in now. So what we're going to do is start to look at the possibility of where we want to go, how we want to handle this. Now the green, the background is going to be made up of yellow ochre and some dark blues and greens to give you a real cool, cool and warm kind of thing. So we're going to take some yellow ochre and I'm going to mix up, that's wet, so I'm going to mix up my yellow ochre. My yellow ochre over here is going to be about, maybe let's say water to pigment, about 50% of water, 50% pigment. All right. Now I'm using yellow ochre to create some of this because it's going to be introduced all down here. All right. So I'm adding a little bit of yellow ochre, and then I'm taking water to lighten it up. Okay. Dark yellow ochre, and then a little bit of water on my brush to lighten it up. Okay, and we're going to come around. We got buildings over here, and we have. See what I'm doing? That's going to be Marsh. Okay, it's going to be Marsh. I'm going to do the same thing here. Put a little bit of yellow ochre in here. And we got some yellow ochre over there, and maybe a touch of yellow ochre over here. And probably, let's take arbitrary touches of yellow ochre here and there. Well, so now what we're going to do is we're going to go back in with I'm going to make a darker green. And to make that darker green, I'm going to use my New Gamboge with my cobalt blue. New Gamboge with cobalt blue. So I'm going to add a darker green right here. Okay, New Gamboge, cobalt blue. More pigment than, no, this is wet. This is actually probably more water than pigment, maybe 30% pigment and 70% water. All right, I'm going to start to put some of this stuff in here. Add a little bit of that here and there. Okay. And now I'm going to basically come in here and I'm going to add, because I want to make more changes to this. I'm going to put them, let's see, we got some over here, here, come over here. We'll just do a little bit of it in this area here, going around my building. Got a building over here too. We have that building in here, a couple of buildings in there. Got a building over here. Building being my homes. All right, now I'm going to take that same color that I just, and I'm going to add burnt sienna to that. And if I add burnt sienna, I'm going to get a brown green. All right, burnt sienna, heavy burnt sienna. More pigment now than water, okay? Heavy burnt sienna. We're going to do something like that. I'm going to come in here and just add, see how dark it's going to get? This is what's interesting. You can do some kind of interesting things with this. Adding the brown. Now, I don't want too much back there. I want to just create a little bit of it. Okay, so we're going to end up with a little bit of that kind of stuff going on. It's in the background. And then I'm going to just come back in here with my water and a little bit of blue. A little bit of that cobalt blue, but watery. Okay, watery. And just soften this up a bit. Okay. Okay, this water. I want you to know that it's there, but I'm really not interested in having you spend a lot of time back there. So we put my background in. My background it goes from cool colors to warm colors, light colors to dark colors. Now, fun part. We have two things that are going on here in our foreground. We have a lot of light blue that's going to happen in here, and I'm probably going to end up coming in and putting that in first. And then we're going to put the yellow in, or the marsh grass in. Now, the reason for that is because I'm thinking the way we'll handle this, if we put our water in first and we make that nice and bright blue, that water's going to fill in. So I'm going to wet, we'll wet the area where there's water. Now this is just cerulean blue. All right, a little bit of cobalt blue to darken it up in certain areas. All right, a little bit of cerulean blue. Maybe a little lighter with water. Cerulean blue. Let's get some water. It's going to define where we want to be, where our water's coming in. This is all still water now, right? Look at this. We're going to come in here and just pretty water. Wet it. Light, watery kind of thing. Water. A lot of water back there. We can cover this, though. We can cover this with heavy pigment when I get my, if I want to cover it. But I want it guessing through here. and I want to bring it down a bit. I want to come more in, bring my water down in this area here, and I'm going to change the color up a bit. All right. So we'll wet it first. And I'm actually wetting it, well, I'm not wetting it with clear water, but I'm going to wet it with here's watery. All right, and because it's the marsh grass, we want this still. This is all still water. We'll let some of it run in there. This is just wet. Down here, we're just going to have a lot of water down here. Now again, we're not in a situation right now where we're doing anything other than just to put water in here. Just wet it up. I'm using this small brush to do it with it, but I could have used a big brush. It would have been a lot quicker. But we're going to wet it all up, all right? And then what we want to do is come in here with, let's get a broad brush. We want a little bit more pigment in this than, okay? So we're going to just put this in like this, a nice big broad brush. If you do it with a small brush, you're going to spend a lot more time doing this stuff. Just cobalt blue now. Look. All right. Just cobalt blue. But we have reflections over here. Grass reflections. Some of these areas. All right. And it's what's interesting about this is we're just going to put some of this stuff up into that area. Okay, so we have that basically right now. Now I'm going to put in my lighter values. And this is where I'm going to wet it all again. I'm going to go back and wet it. Let me clean my palette first because I need to get rid of some of this blue. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in my yellow, again, my yellow ochre. And it's going to be sort of like a straw color, right? That's why I'm using yellow ochre. Right? That's one of the reasons I'm using yellow ochre. We want it, so we're going to do a straw color. Here, let me give you an example here. We're going to just come in here and just start to, let me wet this area. And I'll wet it so that you can see where the marsh grass is going to be. So I'm using a little bit of, my yellow ochre back here. And what I'm going to do here is just bring in a little bit of bright yellow. I don't really want to use too much of this, but I'm going to just throw a little bit of bright yellow in this. That bright yellow right there is New Gamboge. But just, you see, it's just a hint. Just a hint of that. Just a hint, that's all I'm doing. Most of this is all going to be yellow ochre, or I should say, my Naples yellow. So let's do yellow ochre. Now you notice what I'm doing right here in the foreground? I'm doing it vertically. I'm not doing it horizontally. I put that in. I'm just going to do some vertical swaths with my brush. Okay. Same thing in here. You're going to have some of this stuff vertically going in here. And we're going to do some of this back here as well. Okay, but this is vertical. While it's wet, right, so we'll add a little bit more vertical here. Vertical swaths, yeah. Okay. Now let's add a little bit of green. Let's make some of this back here a little bit greener by adding cobalt blue to my yellow ochre. We're going to get it darker and greener. Okay. Now you can't see what I'm doing back there because of so I'll do it this way for you. We'll just add some of that in there. And we're going to come over here and we're going to just, that's a little bit of cobalt blue. Now I'm going to take burnt sienna. Nope, I'm not. I'm going to take my cerulean blue and we're going to add it to create a little bit of a lighter area. Now it's going to wick up. See what I did? It's going to wick up. What I'm really shooting for is to give you the illusion, that's wet now, that's watery. Those are going to be patches. Patches of grass, patches of what we're doing. I'm going to add some blue in here pretty soon. So you get the idea. This is a interesting way of handling this. As I look at this right now, I can come in here a little bit more and create a little bit darker, some darker areas here. Okay. Lighter and darker areas. I want to put some brown in here. Now, I need to get a little bit more redder. Here's what I'm doing. I'm just going to show you what I'm going to do. Take some burnt sienna. Take the water out of your brush and picking up a little bit of my pyro red and burnt sienna together. So a lot of pigment in this stuff. And I'm going to make some key brownish or red brown stripes. Well, it's wet. I'll make some of this browner, actually darker too. All right, but we want to. So we're going to end up doing something back here. I got to get my houses in there, and with a thinner brush now, I'm going to go in here and do a little bit more detail work. And I'm going to let this dry up a little bit, and then I'm going to put another tint over this so that it comes out. But I do have the need to get a smaller brush and if I can, maybe this little brush right here, sort of like a angle, and let's see if we can get some of this more, get some of these reeds, because what I want to do is I want to start to get this a little bit. Okay, that's a little bit of water in here. Water in the brush. Okay, so we want to get this a little bit more interesting. A little bit more. Get you a little bit more comfortable with it, the reedy quality of this marsh grass, because that's what it is. It's weeds. It's marsh grass, but we can consider them reeds or weeds. Well, you do the same thing with those, anyway. And this is a foreground, so it's going to be bigger. It's going to be larger in the foreground. If I take a little bit of this mixture, what I've just did is I've just mixed a little bit of burnt sienna with my cobalt blue here, and I'm going to just come in here and just start to, it's a little bit still wet, start to create some more weedy effects. Marsh grass, right? You don't need to paint everything. But you do need to paint. You need to give us a little bit of a quality of what it is from a detail point of view. Is what I'm getting at. Is moving my sort of brush up into the weeds, into the grass. All right, now let's basically see what happens here. The patches, you're not going to see as much detail back here. You're going to see all of the detail down here. More detail is going to be down there, okay? So we can do that. We can come in here and take Naples yellow also. Yeah, let me give you an example. We can pull Naples yellow in. And over here, we're going to have some water anyway. Let's bring it down instead of up. In other words, I was going up over this way, moving from from down here up this way. This way I'm moving down into the grass. All right, so when you do that, what you do is you create ridges or different levels of lightness that can be very effective in terms of the overall look of this. So, and this is what I'm using here is my Naples yellow to do that with, along with here. We'll just even pull a little bit. Let's just go back in here. We'll take a little bit of my yellow ochre to do it with, okay? Marsh grass. I keep saying that, I know. Sorry for my repetitiveness, but let's just make some of these areas a little bit brighter. Change it up a bit. But you can see the light, see the change between this dark here, this light, and that. That's what we're after right here. This is the kind of thing that we want to do. We want to just create these wonderful lights and darks that are generally very much a part of the overall look of marsh grass as you look over. Come down, come down. All right, get some strong grass over here. I'm going to make this all dark, by the way. This is going to be much darker. when we get through with this. So we created, what we're doing here is we're creating a level of structure, grassy structure, that gives you the illusion that we want. That overall illusion is the illusion of marsh grass, right? I'm adding a little bit of burnt sienna back here, just putting it in and then softening it up a little bit more. Okay. So let's make I'll tell you what we'll do is we'll just make a nice, got a couple of buildings over here, we'll put them in. This is still pretty wet. I think I'll wait a bit. See what happens here. Well, maybe not. We can probably put that in as a red house right there. These are going to be just... Do I have enough white paper? I didn't leave enough white, I don't think. Let's see. Let's see. Right here we have a building. Well, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to change that color up because if I don't, then it's going to look. If I painted a green house, it's going to be looking too much like what's going on over here. So we'll let that dry a little bit. We'll set those in a bit. All right, so we have some reflection that's going on over here. We have some reflection in the weeds. All right. We want to create some reflection. We want some super darks also in here. This is now we're into the detail stuff now, okay? So I'm going to make some super dark areas. Into the water. These thin, very thin reeds, grass, and we're going to put some darks just like I did there. I want to get a little bit more interest over here too. So essentially, this is. I mean, we could really say that this is done, but it's not done. But I mean, we're far enough along so that now we're just enhancing everything that we put in, right? So we get this nice level of right here, just making this a bit darker as we come across here. Off in the distance kind of thing, right? Same way. We need to define this a little bit more. So the way we define it, maybe darks. Those are darks. We got grass that's over here. We're going to do darks. Darks not everywhere, but darks. All right, darks, dark blues, dark greens. This is all grassy structure. And because it's wet, I'm actually letting it do its own thing. You actually have to make, let's do this. Now what we're doing is we're creating the illusion again of dark areas on the top. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to make some greener, lighter, not here, let's get them cobalt blue, cerulean blue. All right, cerulean to cerulean blue, it's on the green side anyway. And the illusion, just putting these in lightly. Okay. A little bit of green. Green yellow. Notice, see, I'm not touching a lot of this. This is all back painting, underpainting, and I'm just sort of coming in here and just trying to give us a feeling of change of value. But notice that this is a lot of vertical sort of movements here. All right. Okay. So that's that for now. Maybe we'll have to put a little bit more detail in here. What I do want to do is lift out. I'm going to try to lift out a little bit of lighter value way back in this area here by taking some water and see if I can go through here. Maybe a little bit tough to do. Let's see. I'm going to put a tonal value in there that's hopefully going to be the feeling of the stuff way back there. All right, nice and bright over there. Okay, and what I'm also going to do is come in. I'm going to scrape out, or maybe put in. We'll see. We'll probably put in some lighter areas in here. I can't scrape it out now. If I wet it, I can probably scrape in here a little bit more, so it can create some illusions of some interesting foliage. I might put a few in here after I'm done too, in the foreground. I do want to get a little bit more interesting in the background here. So we're going to end up taking that red building. We'll do let's do it's a little darker, maybe a darker building right here. Okay. Probably too much water. Maybe we'll do let's do a white. Here we have a building over here. We'll have to do a little bit of. These are sort of buildings that are buildings being homes. Sorry, I keep saying buildings, but put something in there. That's just a little bit of an opaque. It's lavender. Not opaque so much, but it is lavender. Lavender, like Naples yellow, tends to be more on the opaque side. And I put a little bit of a blue one in here. Blue building there. Maybe another red one. How about okay. Stuff off in the background, right? Oh, I don't know. What else? We did one there. One, two. Maybe a little one up here. All right. Bing, 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 bing. We'll leave those in. Just probably put a little bit of. I think this one here is going to change. Can't see it. Barn. Okay. So we have some homes in the background. And a little bit more, let's do a little bit more of an interesting flavorful sort of feel to a lot of this over here. soften this up a bit. Okay, and then down in this area here, we're just going to, I'm going to come in here. You're going to see what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here with my straw color, or that is to say my yellow ochre, and I'm going to add my red to my yellow ochre because some of this stuff back here is going to be brighter. Okay, so let's do this. We will soften it out. Let's give it a little bit of tone. Gives it a little bit of a rust feel to it. All right, a little bit of, again, just very light values. Now, what I'm doing here is I'm just using a little bit of, just a touch of cat orange, which I could just make up actually by mixing. I didn't at this point. I haven't done that, but I could. Okay, and we're going to just get some darker green in some of these areas. All right. Dark against light. You know, some of these back here. Right, a little bit of dark. Yeah, we'll fill this in, I think. So we have something that we're going to work with. All right, and again, a little bit of darker values in these areas here. A little bit of darker greens down here. Okay. So, we have the stuff going off in the background. We got a little haze in the top here because I don't want to really see a lot of what's going on top of the weeds. It's a structure. You're not going to see too much over there. We'll do some thin line work, but not too much. Now the thing is, what do I want to do with this? How do I want to handle the foreground? It's a little. We need to come in here with a little bit more dark blues. Let's clean up a palette. Now this is not, we are not painting. Let's just say this is basically what we're doing is we have a reference. Our reference is that shot that I was showing you. But the painting, nobody's going to see the reference material. They're only going to see your painting. So that's the most important thing. Here is the painting and whether or not we get this thing right or not. So I think a nice blue tint on top of that water might be very effective. Let's get okay, so let's get the blue. Once again, we'll get nice cobalt blue, watery cobalt blue. And I'm going to add a little bit of my cerulean blue to the cobalt blue. And we're going to come in here and we're going to do some weight. This kind of stuff. Light area. It's going to be darker right there. We're coming in and doing a little bit of dark there. Let's get some of that color back in here too, because it will give it a little bit of a wavy stuff. Okay. All right, and we should be okay. We should be okay. I don't want this as dark. And I don't want this as dark back there either. I want it so that we have some value in terms of the change. But I think we may have gone a little bit too far in this and just done this a little bit too dark. Okay. I want this a bit darker. And I'm going to do a little bit of this kind of dark to the point of really let it be effective. Okay, so we're going to let it dry. I'm going to get my rigger. And again, bring some of this stuff up into this area here so it looks like it's marsh grass. finalize some of that. And do the same thing with my yellow ochre. Hit the tops of this a little bit. Just bring some of this out. And back here, of course, if I take my yellow oak, I just can't go vertically, but I can go horizontally, and we can skip some of the areas so that it has the effect that I'm looking for. Okay. Now this is just at the end as I'm doing this, right? Okay. So I think we've got we've got what we're looking for. What we'll do is we'll put a little shadow in that building there, a little shadow in that building there. Shadow there, shadow there. I don't know what, we have probably put a church out here or something, a building that's Let's try it again. Little, I don't know, just little things that are going on. Little things that are going on back there. I think that's going to be it. Probably the issue is I don't want to get too into the weeds with this thing and get it too busy. Okay, looks good to me. So I'm just going to end up probably, maybe, I wonder if I want to do that. Nope, leave it alone. I was going to put some more weeds in here, but I think I'm going to think if I do that, it's going to get a little bit too busy. I got enough going on. I got enough going on so that we get we get the illusion, the feeling of where the water is and where the grass is. Make that a little bit more like that. And I'm going to bring a little bit more of this in here. Actually, what I want to do is probably, let me just change the color up a little bit. It's not quite coming out right. Let me just, this is the thing that you want to be careful about, because you get to a point where it's fine, and then you're adding a little bit more of this or that, and it's a good chance you'll just let your paper, your image go bad. So you just want to try to stay away from that if possible. All right, I'm going to leave it alone. I'm going to call it a painting. Thanks very much for being with me. I'm your host, Tony Visco, and this is Painting for Pleasure. And this is one of the ways to do marsh.